Have you ever gotten off the phone with a parent and thought, how in the world did I end up being the bad guy? Well, if you have, that's what I call the parent trap. And here's the scary part about that is that there aren't just one or two of these traps. There's actually 4 of these traps, and most teachers don't even realize that they've fallen into one of them until the conversation is completely over. And so if that's you and you understand what I'm talking about, today I'm going to break down all 4 and show you exactly why they work, and most importantly, show you how to take back power so those conversations stop stealing your evenings, and most of all, stop stealing your joy. Trap number 1 is what I like to call the what did you do trap. And here's how it works. Something happens in the classroom, a kid gets out of line, maybe things get physical in your classroom, and you make the call home. And what happens? Well, maybe it's best summed up by a story that I heard a teacher tell one time about how she had a student in her classroom that got very violent with another kid. And whenever she called the parent, do you know what that first question was from the parent? Well, it wasn't, is everybody okay? It wasn't, is my son okay? It wasn't, are you okay? It's what did you do to set him off? Now, I don't know about you, but that doesn't sound like a question to me. That sounds like a verdict. And before anybody knows the full story, you've already been judged as guilty, and the blame has been assigned to you. And here's what makes that trap so effective is you start defending yourself immediately before you've even had a chance to explain what actually happened. And in the first 10 seconds of the conversation, you're already on your back foot trying to rationalize with a parent that believes that you're the problem. Now, before we get too far into the parent trap, I don't want you to leave this video empty-handed. So I created the Reclaim Your Limits guide. It's free, it's 100% free, and it's always free. And it's going to help you start setting the boundaries that you need so that you can reframe the parent trap. And it's in the description or the QR code there on the screen. Either way, just go grab it. And a little later, I'm going to tell you about the day that I found out the hard way that boundaries like this, they aren't just optional. They're mandatory. So let's talk about parent trap number 2, the you don't know my child trap. And this one's a little bit different and it's a little bit more difficult because it's not really about one incident. It's about a pattern. I mean, I read about a teacher who had documented the same behavior from the same kid week after week after week, going into month after month. Kids talking out, disrespecting other students, refusing to do his work, disrupting class. And every single time she brought it up with the parent, the answer from home was always the same. That doesn't sound like my kid. He's not like that at home. Now, here's the thing. I have no idea if he's like that at home, but he is like that in the classroom 5 days a week. And somebody's got to be able to say that out loud without it turning into an argument about who knows the kid better. I mean, can't we just accept that student behavior at school is oftentimes different than what it is at home? The you don't know my child trap is a tough one. But trap number 3, this is the one that a lot of you are going to know the very second that I say it because it plays out in every single school in America. And that is the negotiation trap. And this is where parents treat grades, deadlines, and consequences as if they're not final. To them, it's just the starting offer, as if we're dealing with a used car salesman. I heard about a teacher who one time gave a lunch detention to a student, which is pretty standard stuff and pretty small in the realm of discipline. And by the end of the afternoon, that parent had already called the school and had that discipline consequence removed just because they didn't like the consequence. Not because the behavior didn't happen, but they just didn't like it. And it was negotiable. And here's what that teaches everybody in the building, not just the one kid, but every single person in the building. It teaches them that consequences are optional if you make enough noise about it. And it teaches the teacher something too. It lets you know that whatever you decide, it doesn't actually matter because when somebody else has a louder voice comes along, all things can be negotiated. And I know that one stings, but if you thought that one was bad, wait until you hear the last one because trap number 4, this is the one, it doesn't even look like a trap. And I think of all the traps that this is the most dangerous trap of them all because it doesn't even seem like there's conflict. It looks like nothing. And that is the silence trap. And that's where your emails go unanswered, your phone calls don't get returned. You reach out because you're trying to help a kid and you hear absolutely nothing back for weeks, months at a time. But the wild thing about that is that the second that there is a bad grade or a consequence that they don't like, that same parent is somehow able to respond within minutes. And so what it tells us is that they were never too busy. It's not that they didn't see the message. The silence was never actually silence. It was a choice. And I don't know about you, but that one right there, that one stays with me the longest, because what it communicates to me is that you don't care about what I have to say. My words are meaningless and they are completely arbitrary. Now, if all this is hitting a little bit close to home and you're tired of feeling like your voice doesn't matter in these conversations, I'd like to talk with you, not at you, but with you. I want to invite you to book a discovery call with me. It's right there in the description box, or you can grab it at the QR code on the screen. Either way. All right, so we spent this whole video talking about parents, and I want to shift gears for a second, because this is not about parents. This is really about you and me and taking back power over what's happening. I think the hardest part about taking back control over the parent trap is that you can't control whether a parent blames you. You can't control whether they go silent or they won't speak to you for weeks or months or answer your phone calls when you're just trying to help their kid. You just can't control parents, period. But what you can do is take back power over your own life. And it's as simple as the A, B's, C's. And so let's take a look at how you can do that. And the very first thing is A, for awareness. And before anything else, here's the first thing that you need to be aware of, is that you have already done everything that you can do. And I want you to say that back to yourself for a second, and several times. You have already done everything you can do. I have done my part. Say it out loud so that you can hear it. But don't misunderstand. There is a problem here. All of this is a problem. The only thing is that it's not your problem. You didn't create the pattern at home. You didn't create the silence. You didn't create a system where the consequences are negotiable. That's not on you. And it was never on you, even though all the weight of it falls on you. Now, here's the second part of awareness, and this is where it gets really practical, is awareness is catching yourself in the moment. Instead of realizing it 3 hours later when your car, a parent says something and you feel that heat rise up in your chest, and before you even know what's happening, you're already defending yourself, you're already rehearsing what you should have said, or you're rehearsing what you're going to say the next time. All of that, you got to get rid of that. Awareness is just noticing that rise happening when it's happening, not judging it, not even trying to stop it, just noticing it, that it's there. And that's the trap. And you have to be aware of this, because you can't manage what you refuse to notice. But once you become aware of it, you can stay out of the trap. And that's the goal. And B is for boundaries. And I want to give you some specific ones here in just a minute, not just the idea of creating boundaries. And I want you to know that I learned this the hard way, because 4 years ago, I woke up and my face went completely paralyzed as a result of chronic stress. And my doctor told me, he said, John, if you don't do something about your stress, then your stress is going to do something about you. And it was all because I lacked boundaries in my life. So here are 3 boundaries that'll help you stay out of the parent trap. Number 1, you don't have to litigate a pattern with somebody who's denying that it exists. You can simply say what you're observing and end the conversation right there. Number 2, a consequence you've decided on doesn't have to be redecided or litigated. Just because somebody's upset about it, you can be kind about it and you can still hold the line. And if that gets overturned, don't take it personal, because it ain't personal. Number 3, you get to decide your own response time. If a parent goes on silent and suddenly demands an answer at 9 o'clock at night, that does not require an answer at 9 o'clock at night. Take your time and get to it when you can. Now, here's why this actually matters. And I mean, it really matters, because at Teacher Talk, we're a faith-based organization, and our core verse is Proverbs chapter 4, verse number 23. And it says, above all else, guard your heart, for everything you do flows from it. And here's the thing about a lack of boundaries. It doesn't just cost you time. It goes straight to your command center. It goes straight to your heart. Because when you don't have a boundary in place, every single one of these traps gets direct access to the core of who you are. Your emotional stability, your mental stability, and most of all, your spiritual health. But when you put in real boundaries, you're not just protecting your evening. You're actually guarding the command center that everything else flows from in your life. You gotta have boundaries. And C is for control. So what exactly are we controlling here? Because it's not the parent. And I want to be really clear about that. It was never about the parent. It's always about you and me. And what you control is your own response, not whether they apologize, not whether they ever explain the silence, not whether they ever come around and admit that the pattern was real. You control your tone, your follow through, and whether you carry this into tomorrow's classroom or whether you leave it exactly where it belongs, and that is at school. Because when you are in control, you have effectively taken all the power back over your life. And it's as simple as A, B, C. Now, if the ABCs got you thinking about where your boundaries actually need to be, I made a video that goes even deeper on this issue, and it walks you through why this job feels like a race with absolutely no finish line and exactly what you can do about it. And you can check it out right here. My name is John, your guide to surviving teacher burnout, and we want you to stay strong and keep teaching.